Because every single day I turn the news on, Trump is talking about Biden, the conservatives are talking about Biden, everybody is talking about Biden. It feels like that is the only thing that these people can ever talk about, because they're trying to take away attention from Trump's disastrous econ
because
policy,
there was a major
from the
scandal
utter
involving
failures
Biden,
that he's
like 3
running
days
into
ago.
over and over and over again with all of the courts, with the insane arguments that they're putting in front of the Supreme Court, trying to get rid of things like birthright citizenship. But for some reason, we're talking about Biden again. Also, it's no
Because there was a
surprise
major
that conservatives are once again, there is no scandal. There is no evidence of any scandal whatsoever. It's just more conservatives demonstrating
scandal,
again that they know nothing
would you
about
like me to
medicine.
explain
There's no evidence of a scandal.
No, you don't need to explain anything. Well, I'm giving my answer to Piers.
Destiny returns to the Piers Morgan show to once again look like a jackass and show his TDS. He is joined by fellow TDS patient, this dude right here, and Michael Knowles and Dave Rubin both make quick work of these two. They can't give Trump any credit. They complain about whataboutism, even though they're engaging in whataboutism themselves. Typical deal, typical Destiny, typical this guy. Let's see how Michael Knowles and Dave Rubin do schooling these TDS patients, Destiny, and this guy on the Piers Morgan Uncensored show.
Lacking for the GOP. From the established mainstream guys, I saw a lot of concern, pray for Joe
I'm not
Biden
talking about
kind of
mainstream.
talk
I'm talking about general, like, people on social media. And I think it's indicative of where social media has gone. It's become, as we all know, because we've all got a big following, it's become a sewer and a cesspit. Right. And I just think it's actually, interestingly to what you just said, it's incumbent on people who are in the more mainstream, if you like, and I would include all of us here in a way. It's important for us, I think, to try and moderate that kind of stuff as best we can by leading by example. However, it's an important example. However, I'm just not buying this sequence of events. When I saw Ezekiel Emanuel on MSNBC talking about the fact that from his position as a very, very eminent oncologist, it just defies credibility. They just discovered this about Joe Biden, that in his estimation, they probably knew about this, or should have known, or must have known, for maybe 4 or 5 years, even before he got elected before. Just to me, none of this adds up. Because I've had PSA tests. I mean, I'm 60, right? I've had them in my 50s. Most men do. And if you're the president of the United States, you're getting test after test after test after test. So what do we think we're dealing with here?
I think J.D. Vance exemplified the right reaction here, which is you say, look, we pray for the guy who has cancer, and we're all headed for the dust at some point. So, let's not be too cruel about it. But also, don't allow our sympathy to distract us from the legitimate political problem that we all have a right to discuss, which is we were lied to. We were lied to by the White House doctor. That White House doctor should probably lose his medical license. Either way, if you're telling me he somehow didn't catch it until moments ago, he's a terrible doctor or he's a liar. Either way, he needs to face serious consequences. The White House staff lied. The media lied. The Jake Tappers of the world lied. And that's a very serious problem, because we already had very little trust in our established institutions after COVID. Now you've got the public health officials, the White House doctor, and you've got the White House staff yet again lying to us. One big irony in all of this, at a really low-end political level, the Democrats, when Biden's decline became clear, they decided to throw him out and replace him with Kamala Harris. And just knowing how life expectancy and metastatic cancer progresses, the Democrats would have had a much better chance getting Kamala Harris into the White House had they not instituted a coup d'etat on Joe Biden. Had they just been, I don't know, a little bit more straightforward about everything, they might have gotten what they wanted, but their deceit did them in.
Yeah, well, I mean, whichever way you look at this, it just stinks, the sequence of events, doesn't it? I mean, does anybody believe that they have suddenly discovered about a recent president of the United States that he's got aggressive cancer in this manner? I mean, the White House said today, as Comey said, the last time not the White House, but Biden's people have come out and said the last time he had a PSA test was 2014 for fear it would be raised concerns. I just don't believe that. Why would a man in his 70s not have another PSA test for 10, 11 years?
So I know we love conspiracy theories on this show, but let me just say first and foremost, as a father of a stage 4 cancer survivor, my daughter had a full liver transplant. When I left my daughter, she was perfectly healthy, 2 years old, 6 years ago, and then she had some bumps. My wife took her to the emergency room, and then they found out that she had stage 4 cancer. That's how it happens. So for anyone who is suffering from cancer, anyone who has a lost one, who died from cancer, sometimes it creeps up. That's number one for people to know. And
yeah, so of course this dude, he's always a shill for the Democrats. He always plays he's always backup for the Democrats, always backs them up and defends them. The difference between this with his situation and his daughter, his daughter's situation and Joe Biden's is that Joe Biden as the president gets tested more often than your daughter did. That's the difference. And so to think that as tested as Joe Biden got as president, that they didn't catch this before and it's barely being found out now, yes, it's a little suspicious.
hopefully people will know more about cancer as this Trump administration has cut 31% of cancer research in the first 100 days. Just want people to know that. Hopefully no one has to go through this. We went through it. Joe Biden right now has stage 4 cancer that has metastasized to the bone.
Sorry, with respect, Jai, let me stop you. You're distracting. You're very good at distracting. We're not a show that
no, not at all. I'm trying to inform your audience.
I'm not a show that loves conspiracy theories. I love talking about the reality behind conspiracy theories. Often conspiracy theories, as we've discovered in the last few years, turn out to be correct. So I'm prepared to give everything a fair hearing.
That is not true.
Well, they sometimes they do, right? Some conspiracy theories turn out to be true. And then the people who call them conspiracy theories sound like idiots. I don't like promoting wild, nonsensical conspiracy theories. I don't think it's a conspiracy theory to have expected a president of the United States in his 70s to have had a basic test that all men over the age of about 55 are encouraged to have on a regular basis. I don't believe them. And I think that is
and
if it turns out to be that
you might agree with me on this.
Go on.
You actually might agree with me on this. So here, let me just finish. Joe Biden is a very old man. Breaking news. He's 82 years old. I agree with you that Joe Biden should not have run or even announced that he was run for president, right? He was supposed to be a one-term president. I believe Joe Biden did immense damage to the Democratic Party and Kamala Harris.
Wait, Joe Biden was supposed to be a one-term president? Says who? Says who? When did the Democrats or anybody or Joe Biden himself announce, I'm just supposed to be a one-term president? And even if he's talking about like, well, because of his age, he's supposed to be a one-term president, unofficially. The fact of the matter is people weren't calling for him to resign until it was too late, until after that debate debacle were people calling for him to step down. But right up until then, right up until just a few months before the election, they were still all in with Biden. So what is he talking about? This is supposed to be a one-term thing. Then if that's true, then why didn't they ask him to step down sooner? Why did they not have him participate in the primaries?
By announcing at a very late stage that he wouldn't run, and he was pressured not to run. I think he made a huge mistake. He's 82 years old. Now, I'm all for fair and balance. And I don't know, I'm going to take my Republican counterparts, my MAGA counterparts out there at their word right now. Let's have fair and balance. I'm all here. Let's release all the public records. Let's release all the health records of President Biden, who is not president. Also, let's also focus on the man who's currently president, Donald Trump. He's the oldest person to ever be elected president. He's about to turn 79 years old. I want the health records of Joe Biden. I also want the health records of Donald Trump. Specifically, I want the records of his failed assassination attempt. You know, the bullet that grazed the ear. That is very traumatic for anybody, especially a 78-year-old man. Release all the health records. Number one. Number two.
Wow, you're sounding
Donald
like
Trump,
a man. Sorry, Vijaya. You are sounding
50-50.
With respect,
Let's do 50-50.
With respect, you are beginning to sound like a mad conspiracy theorist. Dry skin, deeper wrinkles, and crepiness are just a few of the visible signs of aging. Also, I'm told.
That guy's just a big Democrat shill. It's like, why even pay attention to anything that dude has to say? No matter what, he's going to defend and stick up for the Democrats. Like, no matter what. So now he's trying to pivot toward more Donald Trump instead of focusing on the topic at hand, which is Joe Biden. I mean, I don't know. Was it announced that Donald Trump had cancer recently? It wasn't Donald Trump. It's Joe Biden. So I don't know why he's trying to pivot to Donald Trump for.
Wait, no. I want the release of records.
What do you think?
Wait.
You don't think he was shot in the ear? You don't believe that? What are you getting at?
I agree he was shot in the ear.
What mad conspiracy are you pursuing?
I agree he was shot in the ear. We do not have the health records. Those health records were not made public. I agree he was shot in the ear. I was on your show. He was shot. He survived. Release the public health records of Donald Trump. Release the public health records of Joe Biden. I want to remind everyone, The oldest man to be elected is president right now, Donald Trump. Hold. Who did I say was cover up? I'm saying, let's be honest. I'm taking you at your word.
I was trying to establish. Are you saying that you are agreeing with your MAGA counterparts that there was a cover up on Joe Biden's ill health?
People do not trust the establishment. People do not trust the Democratic establishment. People do not trust the Republican establishment. I want Americans to be informed. I agree with you. Joe Biden is a very old man. He's 82 years old. I agree with you. He should not run again. I agree with you that the Democratic establishment probably hit his decline. We saw it in real time. But what I'm also seeing right now is unfair and unbalanced coverage, because President Biden ain't president. Donald Trump is president. 78 years old, about 79, has never been on a bike, talks about groceries like he invented the word, he's brought it back.
Well, you're steaming off.
I'm sorry.
Well, Jai, you're going off on one of your you're very good at distracting. You're very good at distracting, but let me bring in.
Donald Trump has fallen asleep 3 times publicly in the past 3 weeks. He's 79 years old.
Donald Trump has the energy, as everybody knows, whether you love him or hate him, he's got the energy of a 30-year-old, right? So what? Let's just not go down.
Tell him to ride a bike.
Yeah, Joe Biden.
Tell him to ride a bike.
Joe Biden was basically
Biden rode a
walking
bike last
zombie.
week. Tell him to ride a bike.
All right, let me bring in Dave Rubin. Dave.
Yeah, well, what about Joe Biden riding a bike? Remember when he fell? He wasn't even riding it. Like, he stopped. Like, he was stopped and standing, and he, like, fell over on his bike. The dude fell up walking stairs. Like, until there's a bunch of gaffes like that from Donald Trump, like, there's no comparison there.
Tell Donald Trump to ride a bike.
All right, which I'll give you a good hearing. Dave Rubin,
well, Piers,
I think the point here, Dave, isn't it? It's just about the fact that there is a general belief, fueled by the Jake Tapper, Alex Thompson book that's coming out now, which many people look at them and say, well, you should have blown the whistle before. They kind of admit that. Both of them have admitted that, so I think credit to them for doing that. But what the book seems to reveal is what many of us said very publicly many times. Joe Biden was unfit to be president of the United States. Cognitively, physically, any other way you care to strip it. That matters. And the reason the cancer story now matters is if it turns out that they knew he had prostate cancer, which was metastasizing, we don't know when. And, you know, to your point with Jai, I'm very glad that your daughter's okay. And I understand sometimes cancer comes on very, very fast. But she is not the president of the United States. When you're president of the United States, Dave, you get incredible medical treatment and you get tested for just about everything all the time, precisely to ensure that you are fit and able to run the country. So I just cannot believe that a man who was president of the United States in his 70s did not have another PSA test after 2014 for one of the most prevalent cancers that affects elderly men. I just don't buy it. And if they're lying about it, then a lie was perpetrated on the American people, which is, I think, pretty serious.
Of course. First off, Piers, I want to say it's good to see you. I know we've been hitting each other a little bit on Twitter lately, but it's always fun to be on the show. As long as we're doing medical diagnoses here, I mean, I think we just saw a prime example of a symptom of Trump derangement syndrome. When someone is asked a question about what's wrong with Joe Biden's cognitive ability and now his metastatic cancer, we start talking about Donald Trump. So that's one issue. As to everything else you said, Knowles absolutely hit it on the head. There is an unbelievable layer of conspiracies here because either we are to believe that Joe Biden, the president of the United States, the 82-year-old president, former president of the United States, that his doctor was completely incompetent at every level, meaning he didn't catch what is now very, very advanced, very easy to catch prostate cancer. As you said, you're 60 years old. You've had these PSA tests.
Yeah.
I checked on Grok this morning. Grok recommends that men usually at about 45 years old. And that's what ChatGPT says as well. And you can talk to virtually any doctor that says that. Yeah, see, this is the kind of obfuscation that you guys do with everything. We all know that men somewhere in their 40s and 50s.
Follow it up with white genocide?
We all know that men in their 40s and 50s should be getting this test annually. So either his doctor was completely negligent and hid that, but it's not just that, because he was also either completely negligent or a buffoon or a criminal when it came to what was going on with Joe Biden cognitively. Why is it, Piers? I'm not from the future. I don't have a DeLorean or a flux capacitor or anything else. Why is is it that in 2019, I was doing videos, you can find them online, of Joe Biden's cognitive ability? It's because everyone could see it right in front of our face, and they told us not to see. So there's multiple layers of conspiracy here. And as it pertains to Jake Tapper, and Alex Thompson is the guy that I guess co-wrote the book, and the poor guy, he's going into all these interviews with Jake, and he's just like, ooh, I hope they don't ask me a question. It's embarrassing because the scandal is not just that doctor, she's a doctor, right? Dr. Jill Biden, and the insiders were hiding this. And what did Biden even know what he had or anything else? The scandal is that the media ran in cahoots with the Democrat machine or the Biden machine or whatever you want to call it. So there's multiple layers of a medical scandal because there's more than one issues there, but there's multiple layers of, I would say, a cultural scandal, which pertains to how the White House released information and how the media used that information or hid that information.
I agree.
I mean, absolutely 100% correct. Like, we've been saying that Joe Biden was on the decline. It wasn't just this year. It wasn't like last year. Like the Democrats where they're like, oh yeah, I think there's something wrong with Biden. Yeah, I'm starting to think there's something wrong with Biden. Maybe he's not all there. Like, we were all saying this back in like 2020. I know Dave Rubin said 2019, but I know when Joe Biden was running for president in 2020, like, there was signs of decline, and we were saying it then. And we were gaslit by the media and the Democrats and everyone telling us, no, actually, oh, that gaffe, no, he was a stutter. It was a stutter. Do you want to make fun of people with stutters now? What? And, oh, no, he takes mental health tests every day. He's as mentally fit as ever. The same Democrat gaslighting line where not only are you wrong, but it's actually the complete opposite of what you believe. Not only is Joe Biden not mentally unwell, actually, he's the most mentally fit president ever. And then we would see footage of him falling upstairs and saying this and saying that. In fact, speaking of Joe Biden saying things, you remember that one speech, like, I don't know, I want to say like 2 years ago, maybe, like he was giving a speech about the oil slick and how it would splash up on his windshield. And now him and other people have cancer now. Like, remember when Joe Biden said that? And I believe it was within the 2 years thing, like with this whole cancer that he's dealing with now. And he said, well, that's why I have cancer. So now it's like you look back at something like that and it's like, oh, was he? And people were like, oh, obviously Joe Biden misspoke. Like, even Republicans were like, well, obviously that's proof of his mental decline. He's not all there. But now looking back, was that actually him slipping up because of his mental decline and admitting that he had cancer then? Like, that's something we should look at now.
David, were those the videos that Russia paid you to make, or was that your original independent thinking?
Okay, let me do this, because you do this every time I'm on the show. You do know that the Department of Justice closed the case, and you do know that I'm talking about it right now, so that has nothing to do with me. But
and I would add a third. I would add a third. Do you know? I don't give a fuck. So let's just move back to the debate. Destiny.
So you weren't paid by Russia? Okay.
Look, good to know. If you want to ask him on your own show and ask him those questions again and again. Go and do it on your own show, would you? Let me bring in Destiny. Fair enough. Destiny, I do think this matters. Do you?
I'm going to be honest. I haven't followed the news recently, and I lose track of this sometimes. Right now, who's the president? Is it Trump or is it Biden? Because every single day I turn the news on, Trump is talking about Biden, the conservatives are talking about Biden, everybody is talking about Biden. It feels like that is the only thing that these people can ever talk about because they're trying to take away attention from Trump's disastrous econ policy,
there was a major
from the utter
involving
failures
Biden,
that he's running into over and over and over again with all of the courts, with the insane arguments that they're putting in front of the Supreme Court, trying to get rid of things like birthright citizenship. But for some reason, we're talking about Biden again. Also, it's no surprise that conservatives are once again, there is no scandal. There is no evidence of any scandal whatsoever. It's just more conservatives demonstrating again that they know nothing about medicine.
There's no evidence of a scandal.
No, you don't need to explain anything while I'm giving my answer to Piers.
Jeez, holy cow.
Destiny, his jaw already going 0 to 100. Like, he's already spurting out so fast. Because this is absurd. This whole notion, like, why are we talking about Biden? Why are we talking about, he's not president anymore. As Michael Knowles correctly points out, it's because this is a big scandal. This is something we should be looking at because it's scandalous. It's scandalous how our government and the media could work into cahoots to gaslight the people, cover up something so major. So absolutely, this is a big deal. I'm sorry. I mean, did Donald Trump come out with the cancer diagnosis recently? Not as far as I know. As far as I know, he didn't. So I don't know what this has to do with Donald Trump and government cover-ups and stuff. In terms of the economic policy, I'm sorry, but what economic policies are failing right now under Trump?
President of the United
You
States.
say the man wasn't competent to be president. I'm curious. Can you show me a single time when Joe Biden sat down and had EOs brought to him and explained to him that he'd never seen before, like we see Trump sign on an almost daily basis? One example of that.
Well, they didn't bring them to Joe Biden because an auto
Exactly.
pen
You have
did
no
it.
examples of that. No, you have no examples of that. Donald Trump is worse. Donald Trump is worse. That's great, but you can see videos of Biden explaining what's in the EOs. Hold on, let me finish my answer. For all of these people that are so concerned about Biden's health, everybody got so offended when Elon Musk was asked about his ketamine abuse. So they said we had no right into the minds of the drug use or the medical records of people that might be involved in major parts of the government, that he was involved in dismantling huge parts of the government. He was the president's right-hand man. Just right there, we just heard another pivot, another abdication of responsibility. The reality is conservatives know nothing about medicine. All of you guys on here are saying it's totally common to test for prostate cancer past 50. It's not. Past 70, it's not recommended. Believe it or not, and I know in the movies and in the TV shows, it seems like you can test for every single thing at every point in time. You can't test for every single thing at every point in time. You don't do that because you get a lot of false positives.
He's the president of the
How long does that PSA test?
So Destiny obviously being absurd, and it's funny because Destiny always he always accuses the right and Republicans of abdicating responsibility and stuff, but he absolutely does that all the time for Democrats, all the time. Destiny does that for Democrats. He always, and whenever you corner him, he always pivots to well, what about Trump? What about the Republicans? What about this and that? Come on, dude, it's fine, dude. There was a cover up. Why is it so hard for these Democrats? Why are they so married to the Democrat Party? As MAGA, as a right winger, I could come on here and I could criticize people in the Republican Party. I could criticize, even Donald Trump. Donald Trump says things I don't agree with sometimes. I could say it. I could be yeah, I'm not so sure about that one. I could say, yeah, that's not exactly a good look. I could say these things. But man, these Democrats, freaking this dude right here and Destiny, they always got to freaking back up Democrats. They can't just say, yeah, listen, and I wonder if it's because they're all complicit in it. The whole time these people were backing up, gaslighting the people, saying, there's nothing wrong with Joe Biden. There's nothing wrong. And so now, maybe if Destiny were to come out and say, yeah, you know what, there is some kind of cover up, or it's a bad look at the very least. Maybe that implicates him, because he is also lying on behalf of the Democrats.
When you do that PSA test annually,
it doesn't
Piers,
matter.
how long does that take you? Is that a big problem for the doctor?
It takes 3 minutes.
Over the age of 70, you do not test men for prostate cancer. It's just not recommended. You can't test for every
It is if you're the president of the United States and you've already had a test in 2014.
From ordinary human conditions? No, of course not. You can't test for every single disease at every single point of your life. Unfortunately, you just can't do that.
Okay, Michael, let me bring you back in here. I think, look, it's the conversation's been very revealing. Majah hat on massive distraction technique, and Destiny basically saying old people shouldn't have tests that might save their lives.
Just to be clear, go to
interesting
Google,
arguments.
Look up, when do you test for prostate cancer? You don't test after. You can Google it right now. Put it on the program. Everybody can type it in the program.
I Googled it, and this is what it has to say. The U.S. Preventative Services Task Force recommends against routine prostate cancer screening for men over 70 years old. Okay, so he's correct in that. However, some experts suggest that men in their 70s who are in good health and have a family history of prostate cancer may benefit from screening. The decision to screen should be based on individual health status, family history, and personal preferences. Some organizations, like the American Urological Association, recommend that men aged 70 to 79 should have a normal serum PSA reference range of 0.0 to 6.5 ng/mL. Nonetheless, there is ongoing debate about the effectiveness and necessity of PSA screening in older men. So while he is right about the whole it's not recommended or whatever, it does say that some experts agree that if you're in your 70s and you're in good health, that, yeah, maybe you should, and you have a history, that you should. Basically, it's saying it's up to the individuals, pretty much. But again, Joe Biden is still the president. And wouldn't you want the president to be in tip-top shape? The problem with Destiny's argument is, even if he's technically correct about how 70-year-old men don't have to get these screenings, fact of the matter is Joe Biden wasn't just any man. He was the president of the United States. And bottom line is that I'm pretty certain that if Trump starts showing signs or he gets a disease or something of that nature, he is going to say the exact same thing. What about Donald Trump's health? What about this? What about that? The president should be healthy. Donald Trump's old. Okay. Same thing with Joe Biden. Same thing with Joe Biden. If you're president, why wouldn't you get a PSA screening? Wouldn't it make more sense? Wouldn't you want the president to be in tip-top shape? Destiny, wouldn't you want that? Wouldn't you want them to be testing, or do you not care? It's one or the other. Either you don't really care, but if you don't really care, then you can't complain if Trump's not getting screenings or what have you, or you do care.
They literally take 10 seconds.
Joe Biden, who now has metastatic,
you literally have a blood test.
Cancer in his bones. Are you arguing they shouldn't have tested him?
It's a blood test. I bet the president of the United States probably has a weekly blood test. Probably. I'm guessing.
What do you think a blood test is? Do you think you can test for every single possible thing in your blood?
It is so easy to test for PSA. Your PSA literally is one thing.
For it?
It's easy. If you're struggling with sleepless nights and exhausting days, you might want to...
Freaking ads. And see, the thing is that Piers Morgan, though, he's someone that speaks from experience, so I don't know why Destiny's trying to young-splain to Piers Morgan about how what goes into a PSA screening. It sounds like Piers Morgan has had these, so he has experience in this area. And so now Destiny's moving it to, well, you expect him to test for every single freaking disease? No, but cancer is pretty major, don't you think? Don't you think cancer is kind of a big deal?
Anyway, look. I want to move on from this to James Comey talking of wild conspiracy theories. Because call me bonkers, Michael Knowles. I don't mind what you call me. But the idea that a man who was the director of the FBI, the top lawman in America, was wandering along a beach and saw some seashells with the numbers 8647. And he had absolutely no idea before putting it on his Instagram that this might be interpreted as meaning a desire to kill President Trump. Here's his explanation on MSNBC.
Was there anything in the back of your mind that said, maybe I just shouldn't post this?
Yeah, no, literally nothing, because it seemed entirely innocent and clever to me. I have never, and actually still don't associate 86 with violence, but because I heard that some folks were, whether they do that reasonably or not, I don't want any part of it. And so that's why I took it down from my Instagram account.
This is horseshit, Michael. He's just lying. He's lying.
Look, I want to be as fair and charitable as I can. James Comey is a huge weirdo with artistic pretensions. Do you remember when the Robert Mueller investigation came out? James Comey took this bizarre photo of himself in the woods looking up at the sky. So I don't want to understate the chance that he's just a weirdo. However, you have to take the context here in. If he says, well, 86, to get rid of somebody, that doesn't imply violence. Okay, maybe he's just kind of ignorant and obtuse, but within the context of President Trump, who was nearly murdered twice, one time with a bullet hitting his ear, coming within a 20th of an inch of blowing his brains out on stage. When you have the entire Democratic Party, all the way up to Joe Biden, who predicated his presidential campaign on the notion that Donald Trump posed an existential threat to the country, that is to say, justifies his assassination. Within that context, Comey had to know. Either Comey is the dumbest person on earth, or he knew what he was doing. And I want to be charitable. I think he kind of knew.
I don't want to be charitable. Sorry, Mujahid. This is bullshit. And you know it is, don't you? Come on, just admit it.
So, if MAGA does believe that James Comey was intentional in posting that an 86 means kill, then like I said in your last answer, I want everything to be fair and balanced. I'm trying to bring people together. Like you said in the last one, release every single information about Joe Biden's public health.
Do you believe James Comey when he says... Do you believe him when he Instagrammed the picture of 8647 for the former FBI director? Had no idea what that meant.
You're going to like my answer. You're going to like my answer. I'm fair and balanced here. If you truly believe, and if my co-panelists here, my MAGA co-panelists believe that James Comey intended that 86 meant to kill Joe Biden and you want to investigate him, I say fine. But then you also have to investigate Jack Posobiec. Oh, you know, the MACA dude who literally sold merchandise while Joe Biden was president.
I'm not talking about him, Stop the distraction.
Wait a second.
Focus on the
stop
stories.
Being a hypocrite. If you think 86 means to kill, then you have to prosecute Jack Posobiec, who was making money off of merchandise that's at 86.46 while Joe Biden was president. Then you have to also investigate Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz, let me finish. Matt Gaetz said 86, not Democrats. Matt Gaetz said 86 Republicans, including Mitch McConnell, right? So, and Kevin Johnson. So, maybe if you want to prosecute James Comey, I'm being fair. If you want to prosecute James Comey, you got to prosecute Jack Posobiec.
But once again, Mujahid, you're not answering my simple question. Do you believe Comey or not? Yes or no?
I do not believe that James Comey and the overwhelming majority of people who liked that thought that it meant killing Donald Trump. The person who tried to kill Donald Trump was a Republican, a Trump supporter, a gun nut. It means 86. Donor. If anyone's worked in restaurants or is a waiter, 86 means to cancel an order.
Yeah, so I looked up the meaning of 86, while I was Googling. I was just like, I might as well Google this too. That definition comes up. That seems to be the new narrative. Like, the new narrative is basically like, oh, well, that means to cancel an order, blah, blah, blah. And so they're going with that. Like, okay, let's say that's what Comey was talking about. Do you really think Comey was thinking cancel Donald Trump like an order? That doesn't make any sense. That makes absolutely no sense. And now listen, you and I, we both know that he's bullshitting when he says, I'm trying to be fair and balanced. Like, no, we know he's not trying to be fair and balanced because he keeps trying to deflect it onto Republicans. And bottom line is that if anyone put it in seashells, 86, someone on the left, 86 Joe Biden or something, 86 Kamala Harris, 86 AOC, something like that. This dude right here would be coming ranting and raving saying, oh, look at this violent rhetoric from the Republicans. We both know that him trying to be fair and balanced is total horseshit.
So if you believe 86 means to kill, then you got to prosecute Jack Posobiec.
The reason that's not an apt comparison is because we're not saying in all contexts 86 always means you want to murder somebody.
Yeah,
we're saying that in the context of Donald Trump,
you guys are getting desperate.
Literally murdered twice.
You guys are getting desperate. Donald Trump is underwater, Michael and David. In that case,
you guys keep bringing up that they tried to kill Donald Trump twice. You know what else happened twice? He got impeached twice as well. So maybe 86 could be in the third impeachment attempt.
All right, Dave Rubin.
All right. Well, first off, I'm really.
Destiny is such a jackass. But the thing is, I will be fair here. Because listen, I try to be a little fair. Maybe I shouldn't in the case of Democrats, because we all know the Democrats are just awful. But I do try to be fair and charitable and think like, yeah, maybe Comey just meant fire Donald Trump. Like, I will give them some lean. But the thing is that if that's the case, why wouldn't he say that? Why wouldn't he just say, hey, listen, when I put 86, 75, when I put, but why wouldn't he just say, well, listen, when I saw 8647, yeah, because I want Trump gone as president, meaning I want him out of the White House. I want him fired. Why wouldn't he just say that if that's what he meant, though, is the thing. That's my only question. Why wouldn't he just be like, because I don't think there's anything wrong with saying you want to fire a president. Well, why wouldn't you just say that? But the fact that he's trying to backtrack and saying, well, I had no idea, I just thought it meant like to cancel an order or like, that we're out of a product or something like that. The latest narrative they're trying to push. Why wouldn't he just come out and say, I don't like Donald Trump and I don't want him to be president. I think he should be fired. I think he should be impeached. Something like that. But the fact that he's backtracking makes me kind of think that he means something more sinister.
Amazed by Wajat's authenticity and honesty. It's really quite remarkable, and I'm sure nobody can see through it.
Russia didn't pay me. Just me.
The guy should have a pin over here. I told the truth. It's really incredible. The other thing about 86, and I'm impressed. I doubt you ever worked in a restaurant. I did, and yes, it's true. If they don't have the porterhouse anymore, you 86 the porterhouse. That means you don't have it anymore. So the waiters know when they're going out there. But the other thing that the 86 came from was the 86th floor on the Empire State Building. Building. And do you know what the 86th floor on the Empire State Building is? That's the observation floor. And that's where the mafia in the old days used to take guys that owed them some money and toss them off the roof of the Empire State Building. That is a fact. You can also check that on Grok or ChatGPT or whatever your favorite search engine is. Now, as to whether he meant literally when he was just wandering the beach and he magically sees these numbers and thought it was artistic and whatever else, as to whether he actually was trying, as the former FBI director, to instigate someone to kill Donald Trump, I can only leave that up to what is going on in his heart and in his soul. I suspect that's not the truth. I also am not somebody that wants to jail everybody for a bad joke or a stupid picture or anything else. So whether it was any of those people that you just mentioned that had done that previously, I'm not for jailing the guy for it, but I think we can call a spade and know that if the shoe was on the other foot, these people would be going absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
So I think this one is pretty clear.
No question. Okay,
Maybe they should wear a MAGA hat. Maybe wear a MAGA hat and try to 86 the election and try to take out Mike Pence, like the violent insurrectionist that Donald.
Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. But absolutely, again, like, I don't really care about this 86-47 thing. I really don't. Like, unlike these lefties, I'm not going to get all outraged. Oh my goodness, what a monster. Like, let's get him canceled. I don't really give a shit. You know what I mean? But it's true. If it were on the other foot, if it were 86 AOC or 86 Joe Biden or something like that, all these lefties would be freaking the fuck out like they always fucking do. Tony Hinchcliffe tells a Puerto Rican joke at a MAGA rally. Elon Musk does a salute. Elon Musk does something that's pretty much the Nazi salute, but he's saying in the context of I give my heart out to you. Nazi salute. He's a Nazi. Donald Trump does gestures where he's doing this gesture and making fun of a reporter that also does this. Like, that's all these lefties do. But yet they could say whatever the hell they want. And all of a sudden they could be charitable. They could be like, well, you know what? Listen, 86 means when you cancel an item at a restaurant, then they could be charitable. But if it's Elon Musk doing the salute, no, he's a Nazi. See, he's a racist Nazi. Jasmine Crockett could call Governor Abbott Wheels because he's in a wheelchair. Oh, you know what? Oh, it's a joke. Who cares? Big deal. Whatever. You're going to get offended over words now. Yeah, but Donald Trump does this while talking about someone. Like, complete hypocrisy. Trump pardoned and now has given $5 million.
I tell you what, if
I admire that.
If there was an Oscars ceremony for playing whataboutery, you, my friend, are the Daniel Day-Lewis
Hypocrisy.
of the whataboutery
All of
Oscars.
this is a whataboutery. All of this is a whataboutery away from Donald Trump's presidency. Anything to discuss anything besides the multiple times he's referenced the Second Amendment, but besides the time he tweeted out the video of the.
Well, let's talk about.
Destiny's engaging in whataboutism as well. The topic of this whole segment was about Joe Biden's decline and the potential cover-up, which we should have no problem talking about. But Destiny wants to make it about Donald Trump. Why? Because, he's the current president. Yeah, okay, fine. But the thing is that this is a major. If they covered that up, that's a pretty big deal, don't you think? So why can't we talk about that without bringing up Donald Trump? And then if Piers Morgan wants to talk about something with Donald Trump, his economic policy or something, then we could talk about Donald Trump's economic policy. And then if someone brings up Joe Biden, well, then you could start saying, what about his...
Biden in the back of the truck.
It's a TV show, and they were doing a segment about what the former FBI
there's always an
director
excuse.
did.
There's always a reason.
Best supporting whataboutery winner is you, Destiny. I want to talk quickly about a conspiracy theory, and you're going to like this, Wajahat, because this involves a conspiracy theory about Jeffrey Epstein and whether he did take his own life or not. Incredibly, and you might be startled by this, Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, two people you probably think lead the charge in conspiracy theory spreading, investigated this and announced the following.
You said Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. People don't believe it.
Well, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
he killed himself. You want me to? I've seen the whole file.
So, Wajahat, there we had ranging conspiracy theory quashed by Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, unequivocally. I presume you, as a man who abhors conspiracy theories, unless you're spreading them about assassination attempts, you would like to immediately applaud them for clearing this up.
All I gotta say is good luck, Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, because never go full conspiracy theorist. This is gonna be MAGA eating its own tail. You know the people are really pissed off, Piers? Not me, MAGA. Because MAGA wants the public records of the Epstein files. They were promised it. And now Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, who promoted the conspiracy about the deep state, right, and pro-January 6th, now they are the deep state, head of the FBI and the deputy. And guess what? MAGA is pissed off. And the reason why, probably, they don't want to release these records is Jeffrey Epstein, according to his own words, you've heard the tapes, he said, who was his closest friend? Donald Trump. Who did he party with? Donald Trump. Who's on the flight logs?
Oh my God,
Donald
you're
Trump.
about to
There's
spread the
video
worst
of him
conspiracy
partying with
theory of them
Donald
all. Wow.
What? No, they're friends. You heard.
Wow,
What
John, are you suggesting Donald Trump
partying with
killed Jeffrey Epstein? Is that what you're doing, having announced you hate conspiracy theories?
You said that.
Is that your position?
No, I think he killed himself. I think Dan and Kash Patel are actually honest. I think he killed himself. But MAGA's pissed off right now because MAGA was promised full release of the public files. Pam Bondi hasn't done it. Kash Patel hasn't done it. Dan Bongino hasn't done it. If you're paying attention to MAGA right now, they're divided right now, and they're going after Dan and Kash, and this is going to be a huge problem for MAGA. Not for the rest of us, not for the normies.
Hold on, I thought I was
the normies. I wouldn't be quite so hasty with that self-description.
I were representative of MAGA. Can we get in on this?
Yes.
I'm not going after Dan and Kash. I don't know Kash personally. I know Dan pretty well, and I trust Dan. I don't think Dan would lie. You got to pay attention not only to what Dan and Kash said, but what they didn't say. They didn't say that Jeffrey Epstein's suicide was all on the up and up. They didn't say that Jeffrey Epstein didn't have connections to intelligence agencies. They didn't say that Jeffrey Epstein wasn't permitted to kill himself. The fact that you had malfunctions of multiple security cameras and multiple guards not showing up, they didn't say that Jeffrey Epstein didn't, as Alan Dershowitz suggested the other day, pay the guards off to allow him to kill himself. There's still all sorts of questions about it. There's very legitimate questions, unless you, Wajat, think that the Jeffrey Epstein case was just open and shut and there's no reason to dig any deeper. Obviously, there are very legitimate questions about it. But what Dan and Kash said can be true, and there can still be much more to learn about the corruption that involves very, very high levels of government.
Well, the biggest conspiracy theory, which I think happens to be true, is that there were clearly a lot of very high-profile people who knew what Jeffrey Epstein was up to and have never been held to account. And it is completely ridiculous that the only person languishing in a prison in America for any connection to do with Epstein is Ghislaine Maxwell, his madame, who helped him facilitate a lot of this abuse and is quite rightly serving a very long prison sentence. But no man has ever, who was participating with him, has ever been brought to justice. I mean, that is ridiculous. I want to ask you, Destiny, about something that's just been dropping, which is about Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah, to address that whole thing, listen, I like Michael Knowles, but I think he's a little bit off on that whole thing. Oh, you got to listen to the words they didn't say. They didn't say this, this, and that. Yeah, but they didn't say that either. They didn't come on and say what Michael Knowles said. They didn't come on and say, yeah, listen, we saw the files. He did kill himself. But however, there's still a lot of questions about it. Why weren't the security guards stopping it? How did the cameras conveniently turn off? And we're going to get to the bottom of all this. They didn't say that as far as I know. They just said, yeah, listen, he killed himself and bada bing, bada boom. That's it. Okay, let's move along now. Let's not talk about it no more. So, yeah, no, that's obviously shady as shit. Okay. It's so weird that Bongino and Patel, I think, were both people who believe that, especially Bongino, because I think he went on his show and said that he thinks that, there's more to it than that. And now for even him to be like, nope, he definitely killed himself. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but we're going to need a little bit more evidence than that. And I wonder what files that he could see or view that would prove that he killed himself exactly, because there was no camera footage. So it's not like they could be like, I saw the footage myself and it shows that he did in fact kill himself. Like it didn't, there's no footage. So I wonder what he could read that could let him believe that, okay, yes, it's kill himself. I mean, listen, my opinion, and I think everybody else's opinion on it, is that I don't think we're ever going to get this Epstein file shit. There are, and also that tells me too that there are really powerful people behind this whole Epstein stuff, like really powerful people. And so the fact of the matter is that we have the Trump administration in there right now, and even they can't release this shit.
Told a UK crowd that Donald Trump was unfit and treasonous. Trump responded in his normal, calm, self-effacing manner, called him a dried-out prune of a rocker on Truth Social. Highly overrated, Bruce Springsteen. Not a talented guy, just a pushy, obnoxious jerk. And then he posted this video. And my question, Destiny, is can you watch that with a straight face? And it appears you can. Did you not find that even vaguely funny?
Every time I see a picture of the 9% body fat, 180-pound, rippling muscled Trump, because of the very real medical report we saw that assesses physical condition, I'm in awe of him. I do agree with what Bruce Springsteen said, though. And I think the courts are basically reaffirming this, that Donald Trump is doing everything he can to destroy rule of law in this country. And that's why we are so desperate to talk about literally anything else, even if that's the prostate of the former president, than what Trump's current behavior
I've got a question for you, just to see whether your own health and whether your own Trump derangement syndrome is at an advanced aggressive stage. And it's this. Do you give Trump any credit for reducing the number of illegal people coming over the southern border by 96% in 3 months?
Absolutely
yes or no?
not.
It's a strange question. Like,
not really. It's a very simple.
It kind of is.
It's a very simple, factual question.
If you had cancer of the brain and I cut your head off, would you give me credit for getting rid of the cancer? I mean,
wow.
I guess. I mean,
illegal immigration you don't think it's an achievement?
Illegal immigration has definitely decreased. All of our tourism has decreased. If part of the reason why the immigration or illegal immigration has decreased is because nobody wants to come to this country anymore because they can see it's turning into a massive shit show. I mean, does he get credit for that? I guess, sure.
Piers, can I defend it?
Yes, you can.
I think it has to do with the foreign
terrorist
organization.
Listen, as a
I don't think even, to be honest with you, Dave, it doesn't even have to be defended. Obviously,
it doesn't have to be defended.
Obviously, it's a stunning achievement, which everybody should say is a great achievement.
I'm a laminated card-carrying member of MAGA. I go to the meetings with Knowles. He brings the cigars. I bring the tequila. We talk about these people. Look, I can easily defend
just like
the border.
I
can easily defend the trade deals. Right? I can easily defend what he's doing in the Middle East. I can easily defend what he's doing with Russia, Ukraine. I can easily defend what he's doing as it relates to getting wokeness out of the schools and blowing apart the Department of Education.
Wants to host a debate
you
on
can
that,
defend all of those things very easily.
Any one of these topics, Dave, all of these
Can
are
you defend this, Dave Rubin?
The entire world market is shuddering.
Dave
the
Rubin.
bonds market is shuddering as a result of these things. Nobody agrees.
Well, actually, the stock market is actually the stock market's actually doing fine. Now everyone's calmed down and stopped shaking and screaming. It's actually fine.
All the losses were
Dave Rubin, quick question though. The really big debate.
To be clear, the markets are not fine, but go ahead.
Well, they are. Dave Rubin, straightforward question. The most contentious thing of all, is the boss, Bruce Springsteen, overrated?
Yes, he's overrated. First off, I'm a Long Island guy, so you go to Billy Joel as the default. But any day, you know who I will take over Bruce Springsteen any day? About a month ago, I had the honor of interviewing 90-year-old Frankie Valli, and that guy is still out there performing.
Yeah, but his voice is gone.
He's doing it every night on the road.
Yeah, but his voice is gone. The boss, I mean, come on, with Jarhat, can we find common ground? I think Bruce Springsteen's fantastic. I don't agree with his view about Trump, but I don't think Trump's right to call him overrated.
Great.
Go to a Journey
Bruce
concert.
Springsteen, look at his catalog. Fantastic catalog. You could disagree with his politics, but how can you knock an American icon, Bruce Springsteen? And show me that you're out of touch without telling me, and I'll show you Dave Rubin. He'll go for Frankie Valli instead of Bruce Springsteen. But all right, that's how you win over the kids.
They were great.
Yes.
Jersey Boys is one of the all-time great movies too.
That means you're out of touch because Frank Sinatra is old and dead. Yeah, that's really terrible if you listen to him.
Yeah,
Frankie
Valli, total legend. But Michael Knowles, the boss, overrated?
I love Thunder Road, okay? It's a great song, and I love Atlantic City, even though I think the band did a better version than Bruce Springsteen did. So, look, I like the boss. I think he's pretty good. I also agree he's a little bit overrated. People try to make him into Bob Dylan. He's not really Bob Dylan, and he does kind of look like a dried-up prune. So I think what Trump said is true, although I still love my Jersey Shore bops.
Okay, Destiny, can we find any common ground here? Is the boss overrated?
Listen, I grew up listening to Linkin Park and Third Eye Blind and these other bands. Okay, so it's out of my generation, unfortunately. I have no strong opinion here.
Here, Piers, in the spirit of bringing us together, I want to send Wajid a gift after the show. I don't know have his mailing address, but I just wrote "You tried" and I signed it on a piece of paper here. So can you guys just get this to his people? Would that be possible? Because he tried real hard today, and that's important.
Did you write it, or was it in Russian? Do it in Russian for me. It'll be more authentic.
Still trying. I'll even sign it again.
Comrade Rubles. Do it in Russian, and I'll believe you.
Gentlemen.
Yeah, look at this guy.
Let's leave it at Comrade Rubin. I think that's got a nice little ring to it, actually. Gentlemen, thank you all very much.
So listen, I mean, I don't really give a shit much about Bruce Springsteen. I'm not going to say, I mean, yes, he is overrated. However, I'm not going to say that he's nothing either. I mean, you listen, he has a ton of hit songs. A lot of people like Bruce Springsteen. I like a few Bruce Springsteen songs. I'm not going to lie and say that I don't just because it's Bruce Springsteen. However, I do love it when Donald Trump does a good roast. Frankie Valli, too. Frankie Valli is great. But again, I'm not really a big Frankie Valli fan. Where I find some common ground with Destiny, though, is that I like Third Eye Blind, so there's some common ground there. I mean, losing a whole year, that's a jam. Yeah, but Destiny, though, like, he can't give any credit to Donald Trump at all. Like, he reduced the illegal immigration. What I would have told Destiny, though, when he's like, oh, well, if I had brain cancer and I chopped my head off, would you say that I did a good job curing the cancer? I would have just said, oh, well, that's interesting that you're comparing these illegal migrants here to cancer, to brain cancer. That's fascinating. As far as the tourism, that's a new narrative I've seen going on now. Like, oh man, people don't want to come to our country now. Like, ugh. First of all, boo-hoo. But okay, even if you want to go, yeah, but the economy, that makes the economy better. Like, tourism's great. I think in that instance, like, how is that correlation causation? Why wouldn't people want to tour over here now because of what's going on? I don't see it. Because tourism just means you're visiting. You're visiting and then you go back. You know, so if the fear is, well, I'm afraid I might get detained or something like that and sent back to my country. Well, I mean, you're going back to your country anyway. So I don't understand what the fear would be, why someone would be afraid to visit over here, take a vacation over here. What this tells me, though, is that I think people are coming over here saying that they're coming here on vacation and they're staying here. And so the fact that there is a decrease, and if there is causation there, I think that means that less people, that there are people who are wising up and saying, oh shit, well, my plan of just going over there and staying over there is not really working out too much. So I'm just not going to risk it. That's what that tells me. But again, I don't know much about this whole thing. I'm just using my logic here and what it could be. But what do you guys think about this whole video? Leave a comment in the comment section below. Give this video a like if you liked it. And if you really liked it, please subscribe to my channel. You'll be helping me out a lot, especially if you like the video. That'll also help me out a lot. You'll share me out in the algorithm. If you want to see more of Piers Morgan, I got a whole playlist for you on the screen. I also got more of Michael Knowles on my channel, some Destiny stuff. I even got some Dave Rubin stuff, all of which is on my channel for your enjoyment.